Hello everyone, I wanted to showcase the reflection library that I have been writing and show how to use it. The name of the library is Glassify and it is a header-only reflection system. So that means it can easily be added to an existing project and modified to suit whatever the developer needs without having to compile it into a library first. Let's get started with a basic overview of the project. Most declarations can be found in the glass.decl header file. If we scroll down a bit, we find the first classes. Here we see the type ID, the variable ID, and the member info struct, all of which I have covered in my previous videos about the subject. After that, we find the type necessary for function reflection, namely the function info and function ID types. I will go more into detail in future videos. After that, there's a struct that contains information about parent-child relationships. Then we find some hash functions to make the types compatible with std unordered containers. After that, we find the global data struct, which contains all the information contained in the reflection system. It can be accessed anywhere in the program using the getGlobalData function. Then we find some helper functions that can be used to register reflection information at runtime, along with some other possible useful features like hash functions and getting arrays of variable IDs at compile time. Following that, we find ways to statically register types like I showed in the previous videos. This also contains ways to register functions, method, and parent-child relationships. And then lastly, we find macros to easily register types to the reflection system. So inside of your project, you should mainly use these macros unless something goes wrong with the macro creation, like for example when you use a templated types containing commas. All of the definitions can be found inside of the Glass implementation file. Feel free to look through it. Another important file is the glass config file, because this file contains the type information which can be customized by the developer. The first section is the definition of add-ons. Add-ons offer functionality that might not be required by some users, but increases compile time. The serialization system covered in the previous example video would be considered an add-on, for example. If you comment or uncomment these defines, it will be enabled or disabled. Next is the type info that each register type may hold. Here we store the name, the size, the alignment, the members, the method, and the base classes and child classes. Optionally, if we have an add-on active, more information will be added for each type. This is the storage add-on, which I will go into more detail in future videos. However, the serialization section should be familiar if you saw the previous video. And then at the end, there is a room for the developer to add any variable that he might require. So if you want to add your own type information, this is where to do it. Then scrolling down, we have a section to initialize the variables that are declared in the type info struct. Next is the header file for adding custom properties to the reflection system. Member variables and functions can have custom properties assigned to them, and custom properties can be defined in this header file. In the function properties, there are some examples on how one might add custom properties, like if used for networking or scripting, for example. There is also the glass enum helper file that allows bit operations to be optionally used on enum classes. Just use the glass enum bit macro with the enum class to activate it. This is used for the properties so that they can be easily added together with the OR operation. Another minor feature is the dependency system. Whenever we feel that in order for one type to work correctly, another type also needs to be registered to the reflection system, we can add a dependency. Containers are a good example of this, as most likely when you register a container, you also want to register the type that the container holds. Lastly, we have the Glassify header file, which you should include anywhere you want to use the reflection system. Alright, that's it. Please check out the description for a link to the source code. Thanks for watching.